Have you ever been in a relationship where the hurt never actually gets repaired? Of course you have, or you wouldn't be here listening to my podcast. This may be the single biggest problem in a relationship with a covert narcissist. It's where the apologies are either non existent or so hollow that they echo in your chest. It's where there just is absolutely no ability to connect with this person except on a shallow, superficial, self sacrificing of you level. You just can't grow up together. You're left holding the pieces of a conflict, waiting for the other person to help put them back together, only to realize that they've already walked away. And it's as if nothing ever happened. And after a while, you realize it's not just the conflict that hurts, it's the silence where healing should have been. Welcome back to the Covert Narcissism podcast, where we talk about the gaping hole between you and your partner. That hole that just keeps widening, and every attempt you make to bridge it just falls into this abyss between you. You see, in healthy relationships, disagreements happen, misunderstandings happen, harsh words get spoken in the heat of the moment. I want to make sure that you know not everyone who says a harsh word is a narcissist. Not everyone who dismisses you in the moment is a narcissist. Not everyone who makes a joke at your expense is a narcissist. What sets the healthy relationships apart is the repair process. The difference lies in the ability to have the tough conversation, to do the hard work, to show up for each other, to give each other the space to be upset or to be hurt and to be heard. That space where someone says, "Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. Let's talk about it." Let me give you an example. In a healthy relationship, let's say one partner makes a sarcastic comment at the other's expense during maybe dinner with friends. And on the way home, the partner who was hurt speaks up. "Hey, that joke stung a little. It really kind of embarrassed me." The other one replies, "Hey, I didn't realize that landed hard. I was just trying to be funny, but it's not okay then if that bothered you. I am sorry." They talk it through. They maybe even laugh about it later. The repair does not erase the moment, but it actually transforms it into connection. Trust grows because both people know that they can now face conflict together and they come out stronger. This is a healthy, trusting relationship, and the bond that it builds is a trust bond instead of a trauma bond. Now, picture the same scenario in a covert narcissistic relationship. The hurt partner speaks up. "Hey, that joke really stung a little bit. It embarrassed me." Well, instead of acknowledgement, the covert narcissist deflects. "Well, you're too sensitive. Everyone was laughing. Why do you always ruin the fun?" You do not feel heard at all. None. Zero zilch. There is no space for you to be heard. Or they double down and even say, "Maybe if you weren't so uptight, I wouldn't have to make jokes about you." There's no ownership, no repair, no space for feelings, not even a little. And if you really try to get your feelings heard, you really speak up a little bit, well, now this becomes a full-fledged narcissistic attack. So you shut down instead. The hurt festers, the unspoken message is clear. Your pain is an inconvenience, not a priority. Your feelings, they just don't matter. In a healthy dynamic, talking about the tough conversations or having the tough conversations is safe. Both people show up for these difficult conversations, and the reward is extremely high. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's risky. But as you realize that you're safe with this person, that it's okay to be vulnerable, raw, and honest, and that it's okay for them to be vulnerable, raw, and honest, then it becomes a relationship built on trust and safety. This growth together is amazing, and it bonds two individuals in a way that's not easily broken. But with a covert narcissist, both people don't show up for the difficult conversations. You have one person, you, trying to bridge the gap, willing to face the discomfort for the sake of the relationship. That's why. That's why you have to face it, is for that relationship. And then you have this other person pitching a royal fit at the very idea of addressing the problem. They're like a toddler stomping their feet, refusing to put their shoes on because they don't like how they feel. They stonewall, deflect, twist your words. They explode in defensiveness or sulk into victimhood. Anything to avoid sitting in that vulnerable space where accountability and grace actually happen. And because they won't come to the table, you end up doing all the emotional heavy lifting in the relationship. This is exhausting, one sided, and not sustainable. That gaping hole, it doesn't just vanish, it grows. It gets wider and deeper. And it collects things over time. Things like resentment, mistrust, loneliness. It becomes an emotional sinkhole in the middle of your life, in the middle of your home, in the middle of your family. I'm going to give you a handful of stories that illustrate this lack of give on their part and the gaping hole where reconciliation should exist. And let's start with the example I've already mentioned. Now, this was Megan, whose name is obviously not Megan. And it's Megan's husband who had made the cutting remark in front of friends. And it wasn't just a harmless little quip, it hit her below the belt. Her cheeks flushed hot, her stomach twisted, she forced a smile to hide the sting, and maybe some of her friends even noticed that, but her husband definitely did not. And that night, she goes to bed just sick in her stomach. She's replaying the words over and over because this is not the first time. This is not even the 100th time. We're way beyond that. But she's convinced that they'll talk about it in the morning. She thought, we've been married long enough. Surely he'll realize that that went too far. Surely he'll hear my words. But the next day, he's cheerful, talking about weekend plans as if nothing ever happened. He joked about the weather, about the errands they should run, all the while Megan sits there, still holding last night's wound like a bruise on her heart. She knows she's got to bring this up. She knows she's got to talk about it. So finally she does. She says, "Hey, that comment last night, that really hurt." And his response? A dismissive shrug. "Why are you worried about that? Everyone else thought it was funny." In a caring relationship, I want to give you this contrast. He could have paused, taken a moment, and looked at her eyes and said, "Hey, I didn't realize that landed so hard. My bad." That small acknowledgement would have been enough. Not perfect words, not some grand gesture, not some drawn out, 3-hour conversation. No, just a moment of humility and honesty. That's all. That's all it takes, with some consistency of doing that, but that's all it takes to create safety in the relationship. Now, in the contrast, the covert narcissist slams the door to your feelings with dismissal. Your hurt is labeled irrational and your perspective unimportant. Connection is blocked. He might as well have said, "My comedy career is more important than your feelings, so get used to it. This is only the beginning." Let's be honest here. Nothing kills a relationship faster than the infamous words, "But babe, it was just a joke." Because apparently, if other people laugh, it's a free pass to turn your partner into the punchline. And by that logic, you could roast me at my own funeral and call it love as long as the crowd chuckles. Didn't we learn in childhood that if we think something is funny but the other person doesn't, that's a problem? If we continue on that funny path and the other person's not finding humor in this, that's bullying. This is nothing more than adult bullying. Nothing more, nothing less than. It's a bully. Lisa is another story I want to share. Lisa moved a dish that her husband had loaded into the dishwasher in order to make room for another bowl. He mutters under his breath, slams the drawer, and storms off. I don't know if you've ever had a dishwasher battle in your life, in your world, your home, but I certainly have. Days of silence followed, putting Lisa on edge. She's tiptoeing around him, feeling like she's in trouble. Now, I always hated that feeling that I was in trouble. Okay, I went through that, of course, as a little girl, and I think we all do as kids. You're like a little girl waiting to be scolded or just afraid of your parents' reactions. You're waiting to know that everything's okay and that they're not really mad at you. But in an adult relationship, in your marriage, you feel like a child waiting for permission to come out of timeout. And even when you didn't do anything wrong or you did something you could have done better, you're in trouble for normal, everyday life stuff. And the silence continued until Lisa put the effort into repair, which of course could not include bringing up what happened. Real repair, accountability, and like acknowledgement. No, she couldn't do that. The only option was sweeping it under the rug. That's the only repair that we find. And whether it's repair, it's not repair, it's relief from the pain that we're going through. And so she goes right back to pretending like he's this awesome, wonderful dude all over again. Even in healthy relationships, someone might get mad over stupid little things. Guess what? It happens. Unfortunately, that's part of being human. But part of being an adult human is being able to repair our little moments of stupidity, even over something small. An empathetic and self-reflective adult partner might let her say, "Hey, sorry I snapped about the dishes. That was dumb." Again, that's all it takes. It doesn't require a monologue. It doesn't require some self-sacrificing gesture on your knees. It doesn't require, writing on the board 100 times, "I will not get mad. I will not." No, we're not children here. It just takes simple ownership, simple recognition, and consistency with this. With consistency, those small acts of repair clear the air. They remind you that you're on the same team here, and they actually bring you closer. Instead, Lisa was left to break the silence herself. The rule became clear. She carried the responsibility for restoring the peace, even when she didn't cause the rupture. And restoring the peace means just ignore it and move on. This wasn't her fault, but it was her job to fix. And she sure better fix it the right way. I mean, let's face it, nothing says mature adult like a week-long protest over a bowl placement in the dishwasher. And honestly, international peace treaties have been resolved faster than some of these silent treatments. And over what? A cereal bowl? I mean, imagine explaining that one to a marriage counselor. "We haven't spoken in 5 days because, she moved a spoon." Let's go to the next example. Tom's wife promised that she'd be at the son's soccer game. Their boy had been talking about it for weeks, his eyes lighting up every time he mentioned that mom was coming. But when the big day arrived and the bleachers filled with parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and siblings, her seat stayed empty. After the game, when Tom and their son arrive back home and there's mom, Tom tries to keep it simple and he just gently says, "Hey, we missed you today." Her response? Sharp, defensive. "I told you it was a busy day. I can't make it to everything, you know. You always make such a big deal out of nothing." Well, let's contrast this with a healthy partner. A partner who cares about repair, cares about your feelings, has empathy, might say, "Hey, I'm sorry I missed it. It was a full day, but I know it mattered. Tell me how it went." That small acknowledgement, it validates not just Tom, but their son too. It reminds everyone, "Hey, you matter to me. What matters to you matters to me. I'm here for you now, even though I missed that, and I'm sorry, but I'm here for you now." That all gets communicated with those simple words. But instead, she brushed it off with irritation. No repair, no acknowledgement, no care, no empathy. The unspoken message was loud and clear. Your feelings are inconvenient. Your son's excitement is trivial, and my time is always more important than both of you. Let's be real. This is not just about a soccer game. It's about a memory. And now the memory isn't of victory or pride. It's of an empty seat. And notice how defensive she got. Tom's words weren't an attack. He wasn't storming in with a lawyer, a subpoena, and 3 witnesses. He just said, "Hey, we missed you today." That's it. Yet she acted like she was blocking a flying dagger with her bare hands. Duck, dodge, deflect. She's out there fighting invisible enemies while Tom's just standing there holding a juice box for his kid. When you live without reconciliation long enough, you stop expecting it. You stop speaking up, not because the hurt is gone, no, but because you've learned the cost of seeking repair is higher than swallowing the pain. But here's the truth. Swallowed pain doesn't dissolve. It's not like a capsule when you're taking your vitamins and they dissolve. No, swallowed pain does not dissolve. It settles in you like sediment at the bottom of a river, layer after layer, year after year. On the outside, the relationship might look intact, but inside it's hollow, cracked, and fragile. Eventually, when you can't hold it in anymore, words might slip out. You finally express your pain. Maybe it's, with quiet words, careful. Maybe you're even trembling because you know how dangerous honesty feels in this relationship. And instead of being met with care, this is what you get. Why didn't you say something sooner? Now, that can sound like care, by the way. Why didn't you say something sooner? Don't you know that bottling things up isn't healthy? You need to be more honest with me. And in your head, you're screaming, I've tried. I've told you before. I've been honest. I've poured myself out over and over. And every single time you shut me down, dismiss me, twist my words, or explode at me. And now you want to lecture me about being honest or safe with you? It's maddening. They scold you for the silence while creating the exact condition that makes you silent in the first place. It's like being punished for not talking and then punished again the second you open your mouth. So instead, because again, you can't be honest, you think, okay, I'll try to be more honest next time. Do you see the circle that you're in, the crazy making world this is? But the very next time you share your feelings, it happens all over again. You're hit with defensiveness, gaslighting, blame shifting, circular conversations, passive aggressiveness, all of this. And you finally say, hey, this is why I don't speak up. Well, they spin that against you too. Well, you always have an excuse. You're just impossible to talk to. It doesn't matter what you do, what you say, how you say it. You can stand on your head and spin in a circle. You're still met with the same defensiveness, the same temper tantrums, the same shutting you down, raging, or victimhood. You cannot win. You're wrong if you speak up, and you're wrong if you don't. In contrast to this, in a secure relationship, this cycle looks completely different. If you say, hey, I've been holding something in and I need to tell you, your partner responds with openness. Hey, thanks for telling me. I want to understand what's been weighing on you. That kind of listening creates safety. It tells you it's okay to bring things into the light even when it's hard. And every time that happens, your trust in the relationship deepens. But in a covert narcissistic relationship, honesty is used against you. Your words are twisted, your feelings are minimized, your perspective is rewritten, you're scolded for silence and then punished for speaking. It's a no-win game, and you're always the one at fault. Honestly, it's like being told, speak now or forever hold your peace, but also if you do speak, prepare for a 3-hour trial where you're both the defendant and the prosecution, but I'm the judge, and the jury's rigged against you too. If you've been listening today and recognizing yourself in these stories, I want you to hear this. The gaping hole where reconciliation should be is not your fault. It's not because you're too sensitive or because you don't know how to let things go or you don't know how to communicate the right way. That hole exists because reconciliation is a human need, and in these relationships, you are deprived of it. Healthy love is not about never messing up. It's about repair. It's about circling back, taking responsibility, and saying, hey, you matter to me more than my pride. That's what builds trust. That's what builds safety. Without that, what you're left with is silence, dismissal, and defensiveness. That's not love, it's survival mode. And survival mode will wear you down. It leaves you walking on eggshells, waiting for the next silence, the next blame shift, the next invisible jury trial where you're always the guilty one. But here's the truth, you do not have to live this way forever. You can stop chasing repair from someone who's never going to give it. You can begin offering yourself the reconciliation that you've been denied through truth-telling, self-compassion, safe relationships, and refusing to carry blame that was never yours to carry in the first place. You deserve connection that heals, not wounds. You deserve repair that builds, not silence that destroys. And you deserve to know that the gaping hole you feel is not the end of your story, but it is the beginning of your healing. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. The information provided by Renee Swanson, Covert Narcissism Podcast, and CNG Life Coaching is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes. It is not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a healthcare provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. Renee shares stories from her personal experience as well as from those that she has worked with for several years. Her material does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support an allegation or support a claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of the material and the information provided. Thank you.